What's up guys, welcome back to the 01 YZ125 build. This episode is episode 3. If you guys are new here, my name is Chase. We are building a 2001 YZ125 from the frame up. The bike was roached. If you haven't seen the previous 2 episodes, I recommend go and check those out. But in this episode, it's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna be cleaning up those engine cases and prepping them, and we're gonna be putting a coat on them yet. I'm not 100% certain on Cerakote or powder coat, but I believe I'm gonna go powder coat because it's a little more budget friendly and I'm more familiar with spraying it. I would like to go Cerakote, but with the prices of it, I just can't really squeeze it into this build. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna show you guys how I clean up these cases. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so right now I do have all the bearings in, and normally you don't wanna have the bearings in, but since I'm replacing each and every one of these bearings, it's fine. Now, if you have access to a power washer, I highly suggest power washing them off before, but currently I do not. So I'm gonna have to do this the old fashioned way. What I've got here is a bucket of hot water mixed with mean green, and I let them soak, and I mean it's real hot water. I let them soak for about 30 minutes, and then what I'll do is what that does is that softens up all this real nasty stuff, and I'll come in with my brush, I'll take it, and it'll come right off. Now this process takes some time, and if you are saving your bearings, make sure you pull all your bearings out, but since I am just replacing them all anyway, I will do that after, and clean up the races and all that stuff after as well. So yeah, it's a lot of elbow grease, but it's one way to get the job done. Okay, so now I am preparing the engine cases for sandblasting, and I got to remove these cylinder head studs, and I am opting for the double nut method, which is you take two of the nuts, thread one on backwards, one on the right way, then you'll take your wrench on the bottom one, turn it, and it'll loosen up the stud, just like that. These dowels can be a real pain to remove sometimes. Off camera, I got that one out, which was seized. A pair of pliers is not the recommended way to do this because you will slightly deform the dowel, but I do plan on replacing these since I've already destroyed the one, and this one is beginning to twist a little bit, but these get so seized in there. Sometimes they come right out, other times they don't. Most times they don't. Also keeping in mind guys, a lot of times these cylinder studs are different lengths, so just be mindful when you're taking these apart that you don't get those mixed up and put the wrong length on the wrong side. Whew! Wow, look at all that. That seal was definitely leaking if it was that corroded in, and you could see this was all wobbled out before I destroyed it. Also guys, if you work on bikes and you don't have an impact hammer like this, highly recommend it. It's pretty much a necessity for working on bikes. For screws like these, especially these bearing keepers, they're a must. Had to put that on the ground, put a towel down, and beat that thing. I was getting too much bounce out of the bench. Holy jeez. Yep, loaded with blue Loctite. That's pretty much what I figured. Okay, now I'm gonna tape up these gasket surfaces for sandblasting. And I am planning on covering this masking tape with duct tape because I know masking tape is not strong enough to withhold. So this case is ready to go on the sandblaster, and I think it's time to show you guys my custom, obviously homemade sandblast cabinet. Now, this isn't perfect by any means, but it works and it does the job. It's a little leaky, so I definitely recommend using a good respirator when using it. Here it is. We got a couple of sandblast gloves that are duct taped into this big old Tupperware tote thing here. The sandblaster I'm using is this one here, and I'll show you in a second. It's down here. It's the one from Harbor Freight. It's the 50-pound blaster, and I'm running aluminum oxide in there right now. And believe it or not, what I did is I took this, I cut the lid out, put a piece of plexiglass in there, taped up the gloves into there. I run the, I got a little gasket here that's not working, and then I got a little filter here for the pressure to release. It's definitely leaky, but you know what? The sandblast cabinet wasn't quite in the budget yet, so I had to do what I had to do, and it works. And we're gonna show you guys that right now. Want to see more on this cabinet? Just let me know. I can make a little video on it. So as you guys can see, the little DIY sandblaster works pretty dang good. I got a lot of prep work to do on them still, but these two, the main crankcase is sandblasted. Got to do the head, got to do the clutch cover, and a couple other things, but so far we're looking pretty good. TV off. I'm noticing that this bolt here is moving. So I'm either going to get grilled or praised for this in the comments, but if you guys have ever dealt with one of these bikes, this roller bearing and the seal on this clutch arm, you guys see me struggling with it quite a bit. It's really weird to get out because this clutch arm sits in here. Clutch arm sits in here like this, and there's a bearing in here and a seal on the opposite side sitting like this, basically, if you're going in from the bottom side. And you go to pull this arm out, and the splined area right here gets caught on the roller bearing itself. I'll show you here. It gets caught like this, and you can't get this arm out. It just sits in there. It's very difficult. Can't figure out a way how to do it. What I opted for, which I'm going to show you guys now, and this is why I'm saying I'm going to get either grilled or praised, one of the two. And with my method, by the way, you're going to have to replace this roller bearing. Unfortunately, I can't find another way to do it without doing that. So what I did is the clutch arm sits in here like this, and it does drop down a bit, and it stops about right here. So what I did is I took a punch, I know it's a Phillips head screwdriver, and about as straight as I possibly could, I took a hammer to the top of the screwdriver and just tapped this out. And what that did, the spline part pushed against this roller bearing, and it drove both the seal, which the seal you can get out, by the way. It's pretty difficult without scratching up the case, but you can get the seal out as well. I figured I'd opt for a 2-in-1, and what that does is it basically presses this roller bearing and seal out, and then you can get the clutch arm out. So it's been a couple of days. Last time I was working on that clutch cover. Now we are going to be working on sandblasting that cover and this head and the cylinder. As you can see, we've got some beautiful powder coats in. We're going to be blasting this engine today, powder coating and making it look all fancy. We also got a huge box of parts over there. So this is what I was waiting on to continue on with this video. Let's go ahead and get these couple parts sandblasted. So we've got all our main cases, cylinder and head, and the engine cases. We got those all sandblasted, ready to go. We did get in that new case here with the new clutch eyelet on there. There is one thing before I go and prep. As I'm getting the rest of these cases soaking in degreaser, I'm going to try to address this issue. And I've been working on it a little bit here. This is where that crankshaft went into the side of the case. And I'm not sure if I explained it earlier, but I figured out why that happened. So if you look on the side of the crankshaft here, it appears that at one point something dropped into the engine, the bottom end, and when this crankshaft was going around, this little burr right here ended up heat welding itself to the case. So I'm going to try to knock this down as well as these here on this crank and see if that's okay. I was looking up crankshafts and there was nothing here along the side. I didn't think so, but I just wanted to double check. So this was something that dropped into the bottom end, maybe a little piece of the piston or a ring or something. But I'm going to try to knock that burr off, get that cleaned up. And then for the inside of this case, what I'm going to do is take a surface prep wheel and knock down this edge a little bit. My only concern with this is not so much structural. It did go into the case a bit, but I don't really think that's too big of a deal. This area being just grooved like this, I don't think it's going to affect the integrity of the engine. But what I am worried about is this little ridge
along the outside where that caved in. I am worried about a little piece of that flaking off and going into the bottom end. So what I'm going to do is grab that surface prep wheel and get this nice and smoothed out. So this wheel I've got, it's about 100 grit. It's a little kind of like a Scotch-Brite pad. I've got it on the end of my drill. And what I'm going to do is kind of lightly run this across where this crankshaft ate into the case. All right, that knocked that burr down real nice. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to a fine wheel real quick and just really smooth this out. All right, that is smooth and I feel comfortable with this. I think this should be okay. I don't see too big of an issue with it. If you guys are watching, you have a serious issue with this, let me know, because honestly, I don't think it's gonna affect it. But if you know something that I don't, let me know below, because it would be awesome not to have a catastrophic failure just because I'm trying to save money on this engine case. But it did smooth out and I don't think a burr's gonna break off. So right now we're gonna go ahead and run this. So I've got all my engine cases laid out here. Right now I'm gonna use some Simple Green, and I'm gonna soak these and just try to get them started degreasing. The goal with powder coating, guys, is it's all in the prep, and you want to make sure your parts are free of any oil, grease, dirt, any contaminants that will be on the case when you powder coat, because that will come up and it'll affect the coating. So you want to make sure you've got your cases real nice. I'm gonna get a little bit more. I'm gonna let these soak, give about 10 minutes soaking, and then I'm gonna go give them a hot water rinse and let them dry, and then we're gonna degas them. So we got the cases all prepped, all cleaned up, degreased real well. Now we're gonna do procedure what they call outgassing, and basically you'll put these parts in an oven about 400 degrees, and what that does is that heats up the metal, and that lets all the exposed oils and contaminants that are in the metal still escape. Even though we degreased it, I'll show you guys an example here. You can see when we heat it up, see that right there? That's the oil coming out of the case. There's a lot of it. So you want to put this in the oven half an hour at 400 degrees, and that will get all that trapped oil out of the engine cases. Okay, so we're gonna put our parts in the oven. And guys, it's also very important from this step on that you're wearing some kind of powder-free latex glove. You don't want to get the oils from your hands onto the metal again. So as soon as they go into the oven, make sure you have gloves on. If you're gonna handle it, make sure you have gloves so you don't contaminate it with oil. Okay, now we'll give it about a half hour, pull those out. So it's been over a half hour, a little bit over. Let's go ahead and pull these parts out. So we got these out. It looks like they outgassed pretty well. We're gonna let these cool for about another half hour, and then we're gonna start taping them off. All right, our cases are now cool to the touch. Make sure, once again, you're wearing your gloves. We are gonna go ahead and start masking this off. This is high heat masking tape, and this is specifically made for powder coating, Cerakoting, that kind of stuff, because when you bake it, the powder coat again at 400 degrees, this won't melt. So you need this for powder coating. Let's go ahead and get this taped off. So I'm actually gonna hold off on taping up and prepping the other cases right now, because I'm curious on how this color is gonna look. So I got this one set up. The powder coating setup I'm using is the one from Harbor Freight. It's pretty cheap and I've had really good luck with it. So here's what we got. Looks like we got pretty good coverage on it. So it's time to pop this in the oven, see how it comes out. All right, so I put it in. We're gonna go ahead and pull this out and see how it looks. I'm a little nervous on this now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh boy. I don't know.
Let me grab a light.
There's definitely a couple spots, like right there where I think the powder was a little too thick. I don't know about that color. I don't know. You know what? Okay.
Before I judge it, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let this cool, get the tape off of it, kind of mock it up to the other engine parts and just see what I think. But I don't know. I'm not feeling great about it.
All right. I think I might have overreacted. I think it's growing on me. I'm not like 100% on it, but I believe it's growing on me. I think so. There's a couple areas right here. I think I didn't spray enough powder. And right here, I think I sprayed too much powder right in this section here. I hate to say it. I don't see myself sandblasting this down and redoing it. For this area here, the rear sprocket's going to cover it. This up here, the carb's going to cover most of it. I do want to recoat it, but with the price of powder and having to sandblast this all off, I think for the imperfections that are there, they're going to be hidden. This is my first time actually coating an engine case. I've only done small things, but I've never done a case. So I definitely learned some things, and I realized what not to do and what to do now. At first, it was different at first, and I didn't know how to take it. But after seeing it kind of like together a little bit, I actually really think I like it because it's different. So we're gonna go ahead and get this other case prepped up. We're gonna go to the same color on this one, and then the other case we're gonna do something a little bit different on.
One order, YZ125 coming out the oven, hot, fresh out of the oven. Ooh, this one looks a lot better. It's like Thanksgiving today, this oven's getting used. Now we've got one cylinder coming in. Get that, well, my gas bill's gonna be $4,000 this month. Okay, so one thing you guys gotta watch out for if you are powder coating, you gotta make sure you get some kind of heat gun. I got this IR one here, and you want to get it so you can measure the temperature of the part itself. So right now this is reading 263, and if we look on our bags of powder coat, and each company that you buy powder coat from will have a cure time and cure temperature. These are from Prismatic, so you don't want to just put your powder in at a certain temperature and put it in for 10 minutes if your oven's preheated to 400. You got to look at the fine print. It says cure time begins once part reaches temperature. So you got to make sure the part itself is up to the temperature that it needs, and then from there, once the part hits 350, 375, 400 degrees, you start your timer for 10 minutes, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is. Just wanted to point that out.
Okay, so after seeing these cases together, oh man, I am stoked. I'm in love. I just had to use a little bit of I had to see the vision. But oh man, seeing those together, that looks sweet.
Well, I've got the last engine pieces in the oven, powder coating, so we're about to see the big reveal. So it's about midnight right now. This is taking so much longer than I expected, but I'm having a blast. Behind the camera right now is an engine. I'm not gonna show you guys it yet. It's almost done, but one of the worst feelings in the world when you're doing something like this, preparing all these cases, powder coating, is when you look down in your spare parts bag and you realize you forgot one of the covers that need to be powder coated. I'm not gonna do that this morning, I should say. I'm gonna do that in another video, but we are gonna get most of this engine done, and you guys are gonna be super stoked. This thing looks absolutely sick. I am in love with it. It is a absolute work of art. I can't show you yet. It's coming soon. These last 2 parts are almost done, so stay tuned. Everything is done curing up. Guys, I went from being a little indifferent on that black graphite to absolutely falling in love with the colors. So I'm done teasing you. I'll show you now. So there are 2 covers I still have to powder coat because I forgot about them. And it's about 12:30 in the morning right now, so those are gonna have to wait. They're not gonna be in today's episode, but oh my God. I could sit out here and look at this engine for hours. This thing is sick. Man. Oh, that looks so good. I hope you guys love that engine just as much as I do. God, it's getting late. I can't even talk anymore. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's gonna be soon. Next episode, we're gonna be rebuilding this thing. We just had to beautify it first. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to leave a like. I'm gonna go to bed, or I don't know, maybe I'll stare at this engine some more and then go to bed. Maybe I'll take it in the bed with me. I don't know yet, but there it is. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm in love with it. Oh, I can't stop looking at it. Anyway, thanks you guys for watching.